Welcome to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals, experience, and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. We believe wise investing starts with a plan. Your investments may have merit, relevance to a time and place, but this all depends on you, your objectives, and your goals. My name is Seth Cressman, and I'm here with Ben Brayshaw and John Ryder. We're all planners and partners with Brayshaw Financial Group. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Seth.
Good morning, everybody.
We're glad to have you listening to Money on Tap. And if you are looking to sit down with an advisor and start making some of the right steps towards your financial goals, we welcome the opportunity to do that with you. And you can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You can also find us in all of our past episodes and recordings at Facebook, 3D Investing. So today, we want to talk about a particular type of investment. Now, this investment may not make sense for you, but a lot of advisors out there think that they're doing you a big favor by never putting it in front of you. Now, they'll talk to you about how an annuity is never appropriate and that they're expensive and that you can never get out of them. The list goes on ad infinitum. They will hound on an annuity. But the truth is that for the right person, annuities can and do make sense and should be considered. Now, we're going to talk about 5 real-life scenarios later on in our show that will help us give some information to you to make an informed decision when it comes to investing in an annuity.
Excellent, Seth. But before we get to that, to the meat of our show today, it's time for one of our favorite segments, Money in the News. This is the time of the program where one of us came across an interesting article throughout the week, and we thought, you know what? I think our audience would get a kick out of it. So the first article that I want to talk about today is from an article out of, it's called Mansion Global. This is dated April 17th, 2018.
Hey,
and it talks
John,
about,
does one of us mean you? Did you really mean to say that
you actually came with both these articles this week?
Well, this week I did. This week I did. Well, Ben, if you had contributed more, you could have had your article here, but you didn't. So yeah, one of us,
give credit
meaning
where credit's
me,
due.
yeah, for sure.
Well,
so,
I wanted to bring up the article where Trump should be getting a Nobel Prize.
Oh well, that's coming too. We can certainly talk about that. Yeah, he was talking about how he was tweeting about how he should get a Nobel Prize for his great job negotiating peace between North and South Korea. I believe, right?
Well, I think he actually did.
Trump
more than
wants
Obama,
to give himself a Nobel Prize. Yeah. Big surprise.
now, if we can get everyone else to agree with him, he'll probably have it.
You know, I got my hair cut the other day, and the lady was saying, she's like, you know, he's a complete narcissist, but I really like him now. That was hilarious.
Yeah, if you can get back a few character flaws, by a few character flaws, maybe.
So, Seth, this next article I think has a little bit to do with you because not long ago, you purchased a house out there in Oregon, right? And
pretty close to this. We were right in line with where this article.
Yes. Oregon has some very expensive homes, that's for sure. But this one here, this is kind of interesting. This home is back on the market after a buyer pulled out of a nearly $190 million deal.
It was a tough decision for me. It was a tough decision for me to pull out of this one.
Ben, I was not going to publicly disclose that you were the buyer that pulled out, but I don't know if you came to the closing a little bit short there or what. But yeah, it's amazing.
I just didn't like the carpet.
Okay, so listen to this. This is out of LA. It would have been the biggest home sale in the U.S. ever, but the roughly $188 million deal to buy a 12-bedroom Bel Air mansion that comes with his own helipad and Ferrari gallery has fallen through. Maybe Ben was not too interested in the Ferrari. Ben's more of a Porsche guy. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean just anything but Ferrari.
Yeah. So the developer, his name is Bruce Makowski, has put the Los Angeles spec home, once priced at a record-breaking $250 million, back on the market with a 25% discount. So any of you listeners out there in the audience that are looking for some real estate in the Los Angeles area, there is something for sale. It's 25% down from what it was.
Yeah.
$62
That's a
million.
real sale.
It is. $62 million sale. So listen to this, guys. The lavish glass-lined home is perched on a hillside in one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the country. Do you guys remember Robert Leach from Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So I could read it in that accent if I liked. In fact, Ben would probably be better after his trip. But
Would you like a sport of tea?
yes. At 38,000 square feet, it's more than 10 times the size of the median house on the market in the posh enclave of Bel Air, Beverly Crest, according to data on Redfin. So listen to this. Some of its more obscure amenities include an assorted candy wall, more than 100... A candy wall?
My wife's against sugar.
What's a candy wall? That's why Ben backed out.
Another reason why we backed out.
There's more than 100 art installations. That's what I call them at my house, an art installation. Yes, well, we're going to pick up a couple of art installations today. And then an auto gallery already stocked with luxury vehicles totaling $30 million. So Mr. Mikowski unveiled the over-the-top home in January of 2017, announcing that he'd built it as a kind of trophy asset in the league of mega yachts and large private yachts that can sell from $50 million to $500 million. So he had found a buyer within the first few months, and then he pulled the home for the market last June. But yeah, so this poor guy, he was probably expecting a
I was kind of disappointed because the place only had 4 lanes for bowling.
That's not really adequate when you have all your friends over.
Yeah, no, I was thinking, we all need at least a lane, and then we have kids, and there's a lot of stuff to that.
You guys, I've seen a lot of things when it comes to luxury houses and all, when it talks about things, but I have no idea about a candy wall. I've never heard of that before.
I've heard of a donut wall. I've seen one of those before, but I don't think that would stick around very long. I can't imagine. Like,
you gotta pay someone to
maybe
stock
you
that
guys
thing.
have like Jelly Bean place there, right? With all like the
Like in Times Square.
Yeah.
We have that.
Yeah, there's like all these things made out of jelly beans. I'm wondering if it's something like that. Maybe not edible.
Well, I think the whole house, when you look at it, is something that I would find nice for my family. It has 10 guest bedrooms, 21 bathrooms, and a grassy roof deck. And also on top of that, which is nice, 3 kitchens and 5 bars, plus
lovely.
a 4-lane bowling alley and 40-seat theater. The price of the home includes the salaries for 7 household staff for the first 2 years of ownership, which I think is very generous to throw in. So,
well, unlike Ben, you had me at the fleet of Ferraris, like the garage for the Ferraris. I was sold there.
It sounds like the cars come with it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
They do. Well,
Yeah.
let me tell you
I
something.
mean, that's like saying, I'll leave the TV hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Exactly.
It's ridiculous.
And we'll pay the cable subscription for the first 2 years because that's the kind of people we are when we sell things.
We just want you to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like the inspection reports? Like, I mean, what do you have? Like 30 different people come in?
Oh, I bet you they're very over the top on it too. It's like,
Yeah.
Yes. That's an expensive inspection. That's not your normal $555 inspection. That's a little bit more than that. Yeah. So now we have the exact opposite, or kind of the exact opposite, but we're talking about high-end homes. Now we're talking about another article that one of us picked for the week that I thought was pretty interesting. Boomers.
Brilliant, Johnny.
Yeah, brilliant. Boomers embrace luxury van life. So if you don't have the money for a $190 million house, perhaps you can scrape up some money for living in a van down by the river.
Yeah.
You guys remember that? Yeah, that was a long time ago. Chris Farley. But anyway, so Ben, you were telling me you had a little story about van life, but this is something that people are doing. People are right now, baby boomers are embracing the luxury van life, meaning they're going out and buying a revamped van and actually traveling the country in it.
My parents had a Volkswagen Vanagon.
Oh wow!
When I was a kid, they bought one and we went camping in it and stuff like that. They loved camping. They had pop-ups and all sorts. They never had an RV. The closest they ever got to that was the Vanagon, but that thing was awesome. I mean, sinks and everything. It didn't have a toilet, but it was like cooking stove.
Well, here's what we did. I think I've told you guys before, my dad was involved in fiberglass. He built fiberglass sailboats. But also, I remember years ago when things were going a little bit slow, he actually engineered one of the first van tops where you had those regular vans that you have, those cargo vans, and you cut the top of them off and you put one of those extensions on it, and they were called Road Riders. And there were several hundred of those made back in New England years ago.
Yeah, I remember.
Road Riders, and those just made it so you could stand up, and we actually did have a little porta potty in there, and we'd travel for a while, but we had, there's seven of us all together. And let me tell you, you're not traveling too far without, everyone beating each other up. But yeah, I remember that. But this is a whole
You're not
new
traveling, period, without a van.
Yeah. but nowadays, a little van top like my dad did years ago would not be acceptable because these guys are doing some crazy things. And basically what
These things they're macking these things out.
they are pretty cool. And so they're custom
Amazing.
fitting like these Mercedes-Benz or Ram ProMaster vans for the life on the road. So this guy says, the thing I like so much about van life is the simplicity. This is a 55-year-old guy, John Kennedy, on his first big road trip to California in a $75,000 revamped. We say $75,000 is pocket change right now compared to what we were talking about before. Just allowance for the week. In a $75,000 revamped Ram ProMaster. He owns a window cleaning business in Aspen. Bought the van last summer, 2 months ago, picked it up from a conversion specialist, and now it's outfitted with a double bed, stove, custom maple cabinets. The one thing his van doesn't have is a bathroom, which means using public facilities. So, but a small price to pay for freedom is what he says. It's being able to go down a road, stop, pull over to sleep, start again when you're ready. So,
Yeah, no, I think that this is a great idea for boomers. I think this is fantastic. The RV thing just gets it's like you get an RV
so big too. You're always worried about.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, is it big enough to tow a car? Should I tow an RV? Do I have a truck? And a van's a great way.
Yeah, so these guys are saying there's a guy out of Portland, actually, Seth, named Eric Ekman. He's the owner of Outside Van. His business has doubled from a year ago, he says, thanks largely to consumers in their 50s and 60s. That's when you have the freedom, the mobility, and the money. So people... what they're saying here is that a few years ago they were seeing these millennials all that were showing like their Instagram pictures of out on the road and just kind of living out there and having a good time and not paying a whole lot. But these guys actually have the money to actually put up some very, very nice spend some dollars and actually get a very, very nice customized type of
These
van.
showed up on my radar like 5 years ago, and I mean I grew up like kind of like you, John. We always had a van.
Yeah.
And my dad loved they were called a trans van, which was kind of the modified van. I don't know if you remember those back, the brand name
I know
back in the day.
Yeah. Might mean something different.
Yeah,
today,
so they'd have the bed in the back, and I remember some of our friends had one, and they had Nintendos, and they were playing those back there, and it was like, oh my gosh, this is great. But they weren't as popular for a long time until like 5 years ago. We were up at a lake in Washington, and a guy pulled in this red outside van. And it was phenomenal. I mean, it was obviously a four-wheel drive. I think it was a Chevy, like a regular Chevy, but four-wheel drive, just completely kitted out. And my jaw dropped. And so I went and researched Outside Van, and they're out of Hood River. They do most of their refurbishing out in Oregon City here. And I mean, they you name it, man. Guys, just dream about it, and you can do it. I mean, people are using the Sprinters as well, those Mercedes version, Dodge version, a little bigger, a little taller, but they're making them like surf or snowmobile vehicles so that they can actually fit their snowmobiles or their dirt bikes inside of these things, convert into beds. It's incredible. And unfortunately, Kira just rolls her eyes at me every time we drive by. And I'm like, oh, there it is, honey. There's the one. Because I would love to have something like that.
She's like, see you later, Seth. See you later.
If you're listening and you actually find this very interesting, you can go to Google and just go #van life, and you can actually see a bunch of images of various decked out vans. Most of them are older. But if you dig deep, you can find some newer versions of that.
Hey guys, what you can do too is kind of interesting. If you want, and you want to kind of test it out and say, hey, is van life really for me? Which I don't know. It might be fun for a few weeks out of a summer. But it says this: before forking over the cash for a revamped van, you can actually rent them. So you can get a converted Mercedes-Benz Sprinter in Washington, D.C. that can sleep 3. It's listed for $439 a night in the summer. So, obviously you could pay a couple $100 a night for a hotel room, but if you're just traveling and going, it actually could be a lot of fun.
Or if you have a van, because these are people that own vans. That are just kind of renting them out. I mean, it's like maybe you're not living in a van down by the river. Maybe you actually just have another place to spot up for a minute or two, and you want somebody else to have a ride. And anyways, you can make some money on the side. And I've talked to people with motorhomes that have done really well doing, selling them or renting them on Craigslist like that.
How funny.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you know what? Walmart kind of likes them too, because what Walmart basically says is, hey, we're glad to have you here because when you need something, guess where you're going? You're going in to buy supplies, groceries at the local Walmart. So nice free place to park. And
Walmart's smart to do that.
Yeah. There's a big old parking lot. So.
Well, while you're checking out hashtag van life and seeing what your next ride might look like, we're going to take a quick break at Money on Tap. We'll be right back. You can reach us at 855-226-8551.
Hi, my name is Seth Cressman, partner with Brayshaw Financial Group and one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. One of the biggest concerns and largest expenses people face today is taxes. Without thoughtful planning, taxes can destroy future retirement dollars, eliminating the possibility of a timely retirement or dreams of what you want retirement to look like. If you're like most people, you're getting closer and closer to retirement, and you may be wondering if you're taking the right steps. Will my income be enough? Will rising taxes force me to give up my dreams? How does inflation factor into all of this? These are real concerns, and you're not alone. Putting a plan around your financial future is what we do. If you have questions when it comes to your financial security, and if you're looking for a personalized solution, contact us at Brayshaw Financial Group, 855-226-8551. It's time for you to start getting answers to your questions. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, Brayshaw Financial has offices across the country. We'd love the opportunity to show you how we can help. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to meet with us. Call us at 855-226-8551. 855-226-8551.
When you retire, will you have enough money to go the distance? Should you plan 20, 30, or even more years of retirement? On this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, Ben Brayshaw and John Ryder carefully consider this very question.
You know, the average expected length of retirement by an investor is 22 years.
See, when I hear that 22 years, I think, wow, is that low?
Yeah, I do too.
We don't want people running out of money when they're 87.
Yeah, I mean, we have to plan past life expectancy because if we get Seth's wife's grandfather, you know, as a client, and he's 95, and we've planned for
no signs of slowing down either.
Wow, that's
right.
great.
I mean, that's a real concern.
So investors out there feel like 22 years is what they plan for on average, and we as advisors plan on around 30.
I mean, I always think we got to make sure we're getting well into the 90s.
Into 100. Isn't that typically what we're looking at? About 100 years old.
And stability with inflation, all those things. And then usually we come to an agreement, like what's your longevity? What's your family history?
Sure.
And usually we add 5-10% to that.
For prudent planning. So there's different products out there that are designed to help with that.
See, this is the thing people don't understand. And an advisor, in our role, we have to fulfill essentially an almost unlimited or unpredictable time period. Like it could be 2 years and, oh, wonderful, you could have spent a lot more money, or it could be 40 years and we spent way too much money too soon. We don't have the ability to see that crystal ball. People can say, I only need 20 years of retirement, and they do their own planning and this, that, and the other thing. We have so much obligation to do right by people and to make sure that they're cared for properly.
Thanks for joining us for this Cliff Notes edition of Money on Tap, with great tips from the pros in three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Now here's more Money on Tap with Seth, Ben, and John.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com.
Did you notice Seth seems a little subdued this morning?
I think so. Was that a late night, Seth, or what's going on over there?
I'm well rested.
It's the very mellow welcome back, Seth. Well, you know, we have a really interesting show topic coming up.
It's
today.
not a mellow show topic. This is
not a mellow show topic. So Seth's not going to.
Seth, you're out. You can sit down, Seth.
You're done.
We're gonna go.
We just
Thanks,
benched you. No, but this, hey, baby boomers is the way I look at this. Everyone's talking annuities. Here's 5 questions to help you decide whether or not an annuity has a place for you in your portfolio.
Yeah,
I think the thing is there's so much stuff on annuities, people don't know how to weed through it. So I like the concept we have here to break down, 5 questions. If one of them's a yes, then maybe an annuity has a fit for you. And that it might be relevant to consider. if this isn't an area that any of these actually hit a concern for you, then move on.
Absolutely. It's funny because when I hear, often when I'm flipping through radio stations and I hear people talking about annuities, normally I'm hearing the negative side of them. Oh, you wouldn't want them. They're too expensive. You get locked up. And I'm just like you were saying at the top of the hour, Seth, there's so many reasons why you wouldn't. But there are some reasons why you might want to consider one.
But there's also a lot of shows out there that I've listened to that are strictly like annuity shows. Like that's what the business is about, is they sell annuities.
Yeah, I think one thing you have to look at is they don't exist. I mean, there's nothing out there in the investment world that I look at it say it has zero place. There's always, they're always designed for somebody or something.
We would have to rewrite the intro. We would have to completely rewrite the intro and go back and and edit all of our past shows if you were to say contrary to that, Ben.
Yeah, no, it's true. I guess that would be 100% factual. The thing about it though is that when people say something's all good or all bad, that's usually when I go running scared. When somebody's like, oh, everyone should have one. Everyone does. We have clients that don't own annuities. I mean, it's just not relevant for them. Mm-hmm. Now, as we kind of go through this, though, we work with a lot of people who are in the retiree market space. They're looking for a lot of the things we're going to talk about today. But I think, that still doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be something you want or what somebody wants to purchase. So, the concept that we're trying to break down here is simply that it could have a place. It might not. But it's not that all annuities are bad. Otherwise, there wouldn't be millions and billions of dollars. I mean, maybe it's probably literally trillions of dollars in annuities.
Sure.
So if they were all bad, then there wouldn't be that much money there.
Well, they're very, very popular, obviously, for people that are looking to retire, people that are looking for some guaranteed fixed income. We'll talk more about some of the reasons why you'd consider one. But, what I would just encourage you all today is just to have an open mind when it comes to looking at some of these questions. So one of the number one reasons why that we will recommend annuity, if we have a client out there that has a large amount of money sitting in perhaps in a stock account, in a savings account, and
some form of taxable investments.
Exactly. And if you are looking and you're saying, boy, every single year I file my taxes and I am paying a lot of money in interest, dividends, appreciation, all that kind of stuff. If you are paying a ton of money and you are saying, I'm kind of getting tired of paying on money that I'm not even using. This money's just sitting there.
And I don't plan to use for a while. No. I want to avoid the tax hit. I think tax deferral is the one feature that annuities offer. People put money into retirement plans, 401ks, 403bs. They put it in there for the tax deferred growth. That's the primary reason.
Yeah.
They get the tax deduction. They don't pay taxes on those dollars going in on the 403b or the 401k or the IRA. That's great for them in that capacity that they don't pay taxes. But the truth of that investment, the benefit, the horsepower behind that is the tax deferral inside the investing chasm that you have there.
Yeah, and of course, when we're looking at money you can put into IRAs and 401ks, there certainly are limits with that.
Yeah.
So, for instance, if you want to put money in, let's say that you're under 50 years old and you want to be able to put money away into an IRA, well, you're maxed out at $5,500 a year. So you can defer the taxes on that $5,500 a year, and you might get a tax break for doing that. But let me just kind of talk to you about how an annuity might work. Let's say that you had $100,000 sitting in an account, and this was in a stock account, and it kept on going up and up and up, and you saw, just like we've seen some very nice returns over the last several years, and it's just money that you're not going to use. Well, every single year, if that $100,000, let's say you make 8% on that $100,000, well, there's $8,000 of taxes that you're paying. And every single year, if you kept on earning good amounts of money on that deposit, then you're paying taxes on that. One of the wonderful things about an annuity is the fact that you can put the money into it and you pay no taxes on it until you pull the money out. So you could have years and years of tax deferral, putting those taxes off if that was a good...
And you get that same horsepower, the same tax-deferred horsepower. Now, the difference is, and probably one big issue people need to be aware of is when you invest in an annuity, you lose the capital gains tax rate if that's beneficial to you, okay? And you go to an income-based tax rate. So you're going to be paying at your income level. But if you're in retirement and your tax rates drop a little bit because you're making officially less money in retirement, then maybe that tax rate is a little bit more beneficial that way. Who knows?
So if you're actually in an investment right now that you're not going to be using for years and years and years, and you know that, and you're actually doing pretty well in that investment, well, maybe that's the potential for you to say, you know what, I'm looking for some tax deferral. I need a tax break. And obviously with the Trump tax break, we've had a lot of people that have been very happy about that or going to be happy about that when they see how they're able to keep more of their money in their pockets. But this may be another solution. I can remember a client that years and years ago, I'm probably looking at about 10 or 12 years ago, where we were able to put some significant dollars into annuities. They have had unbelievable gains on that. They still don't need the money. They won't need the money for probably another
Still
8 or 10
sitting there
years.
tax deferred.
It's in their tax deferred. They haven't paid a dime of taxes all the way along. So they have a pretty high tax bracket on other monies that they have, but this does not add to that. So it's been a very, very good place for them. And we're going to keep that money.
It's a great tax play.
We're going to keep that money in those deferred annuities for years and years, and they'll take it out as they need it if they need it.
You know, and so then people say, well, I have retirement money, and somebody was trying to advise me to put money into a retirement plan, into an annuity, and so forth. Why would I do that? I already have tax deferral. So that's something you don't put your retirement funds into an annuity for tax deferral, because retirement funds already are tax deferred
Sure.
in any vehicle they're in.
There might be other reasons to do that. We'll talk about those later
get
too.
there.
So probably investing, like an investment annuity, something that has the annuity wrapper on it, and because monies have been placed inside of that, the money that grows doesn't have to be taxed annually. There's no 1099 being sent out and money being sent over to the IRS on that investment. So what about if the stock market freaks you out?
Oh, I think that's our number two one. Yeah, the number two reason why people might consider one would be, man, I am so done with the stock market. Now, I remember this, and you guys probably remember this years ago when we had 2008 that happened. And in 2009, 2010, 2011, we were talking to people. They only wanted fixed annuities or CDs. They're like, I don't care what you're investing in.
I don't want. Wall Street. I hate it. I don't like it.
I want to say that like after 10 years, doesn't it just like the history just disappear? Like there's no possibility of anything like that happening again? Like, isn't that what our minds tell us? Is like, yeah, no, that wasn't real. That didn't actually happen. Everything's great.
I can tell you this, though, that fixed annuity sales in our country were majorly up after 2008. And CD sales were up. People were putting, if they had cash, they're putting it into either leaving the cash on the sidelines or they're putting it into fixed annuities or CDs for a very good reason. And they would say, and I remember even just talking with people logically about it, talking to them about, hey, well, this does have some economic risk or equity risk. This can go up and down in value. And I remember people very, very clearly saying, you know what, if it has anything to do with our U.S. stock market, our international stock market, our global stock market, I don't want anything to do with it. So don't invest me in anything that has any kind of equity exposure. So if that was the case, well, in some cases, and they wanted to have their money working for them, well, maybe a fixed annuity would be a good vehicle for them to consider. Even though long-term, certainly it's not the best place to be when it comes to investing dollars.
Yeah, I remember after 2008, the number of people that came into the office, just, we're working with somebody. I remember one couple specifically, they lost so much money in the market. They just came, they said, I don't know what to do, but I need help. And my other advisor is saying, hang on. It's going to come back. And I can't afford to come back. I'm in my 70s. I don't have that time.
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of that, I always tell people, I really do believe the market will perform over time. The problem
if you have the time, right?
Yeah. The problem is everyone retires in a finite period of time. And so you have a finite period to have success, to actually make it work. Annuities help bridge that gap a little bit, inside the fear of that stuff in the stock market. You can kind of underlay some of that with different types of annuities and so forth. And I think that there's some advantages inside there that you can still get a little bit of both. There's variable annuities and things like that. So you can get some market potential inside there. You were talking about your client having some tax deferred, gains that were fantastic. Yeah. So you can have some market performance there. I think people don't realize that it's all about when you retire and what the market looks like during those retirement years that will drive your success one way or another. And if you're buying in the market and retiring in a period where it's going to be down for the next 10, 15, 20 years, your retirement's going to look pretty bleak. But if you're buying in the market's on the rise for the next 20 years, like if you started retiring in 2010 and you didn't lose any money in 2008, like hallelujah. I mean, you were your market's gone gangbusters. Things are looking great. But, I think the next 10 years, there's a lot of opportunity inside the market with the repatriated funds and and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean it's going to go up. It could be stagnant. Then what's your portfolio look like? Those are things to consider.
I think another kind of a principle, if people are trying to understand, what this concept might look like. Well, if you're just say in an equity position and the stock rises, there's a point in time where a lot of the time you might want to take some of that off the table, or they call it maybe lock-in gains, right? So what that money does is it then comes over to a cash position, which is relatively solid, safe, secure kind of a position to have. But then you lose the upside potential of those monies, correct? So this is basically a strategy where people can, potentially take parts of the portfolio off of the table, lock in those gains that they might have, and put it into an annuity wrapper again. And there can be some guarantees of what the returns might look like inside of that. And then there's also the cautionary tale where we have, again, other advisors really love to highlight the fees. Those need to balance the equation. There can't be, a low return, high fee scenario a lot of the time in those. There needs to be at least the gains and the position of those funds need to really outweigh, the benefits need to outweigh any of the other, drawbacks that the annuity might have in that as well.
Not every annuity has straight up fees.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Ben. That's very true because you have some of these fixed annuities actually that don't really have fees at all in them, inherent in them. And you might say, well, hey, I've always heard annuities have a lot of fees. Well, there are some that have a ton of fees, but there are some that actually are structured so there are actually no expenses in them. And obviously the company that is issuing them is making money because there's spreads and yields and all they make their money.
Right, just like a CD would, right?
Sure.
So a CD says, I'll give you this percentage. The cost of the CD, the management, the FDIC insurance, all that stuff is built into what they give you as a return at the end of the day.
Yeah, so
right?
the credit union might be making 3.5% on your money and paying you 3.25% in a nice world. In a formal world, maybe we'll bring it down to 1%. They may be making 1.10, and they're paying you out 1 based upon their assets out there.
Yeah, so there's costs that are involved that companies build into the yield that's all you see. So, I mean, there's different types of annuities all over the place, and not all of them have fees. And there's a lot of misnomers. There's a lot of untruths out there that are, kind of broadcast as, blanketed statements that, people believe to be fact. But that's just not really the case. So you have to be aware of that. Yes, and some annuities do have very high fees, so you have to be aware of that too. You need to know. You need to ask those questions. And
sometimes those fees might be worth paying. Sometimes they may not be worth paying.
Yeah.
Just depends upon what your situation is.
Right. Yeah. If you're looking for a fixed annuity, you don't want a big high fee one.
Yeah. If I don't need a truck, why should I go out and pay for a truck and a bed liner and all that kind of stuff if I don't need one?
Yeah.
But if I have a job every day, which I need to utilize a truck for doing my job, well, then I'm willing to pay more because it will make my job easier.
If you're a bicycle messenger, you're not going out and buying a 2,500, Chevy Silverado.
Exactly. There has to be a need for what you're doing. So, Seth, let's bring that to number 3, or are we going to take a break before we do that?
Yeah, we think we're going to take a quick break here, guys. Folks, you can reach us at 855-226-8551. You're listening to Money on Tap.
Hello, my name is John Ryder, a partner with Brayshaw Financial Group and one of the co-hosts of Money on Tap. 10,000 Americans are turning 65 every day, and planning a successful retirement today is more challenging than ever, with a roller coaster stock market, political and economic uncertainty, and so many unknowns when it comes to the escalating costs of healthcare. Let us show you how we utilize the 3D method of investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. Using our experience, let us help you plan for a successful retirement. Now is the right time to start getting help. Give us a call at Brayshaw Financial Group at 855-226-8551. Headquartered in Bedford, New Hampshire, we have offices across the country. We would love the opportunity to meet with you. There's absolutely no cost or obligation to meet with us, and we welcome you to our offices. Call 855-226-8551 today.
Now back to Money on Tap with Ben Brayshaw, John Ryder, and Seth Cressman.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. You know what we're talking about today is annuities. It's one of those words that I think you can just kind of throw out in the middle of a conversation and walk away. It's like,
or everyone else walks away.
yeah, or everyone else walks away. Yeah,
you just walk into a party and be like, yeah, what do you guys think of annuities? And just turn around and leave.
It's like a verbal grenade. People just either cover up or launch into attack. Hopefully, you're not having any kind of a response like that today. We want to just make sure that we're walking carefully through some things here with annuities. Like, why would you possibly even consider an annuity? Because you know what, folks, it might be a great solution for what your needs are. So we're kind of going to walk through some of these. We're on number 3 right now. Who wants to take it from there?
Yeah, well, here's the deal. If you have
that would be John. John's going to take it from there.
If you have enough money out there and you want to know, if you want to know exactly how much money you're going to have every single month for the foreseeable future, why you have that annuity, you want to know to the penny as far as what you're going to expect from that, then an annuity could be a good place for you. A guaranteed fixed rate annuity. And those actually, I can say in the past, those have worked out quite well. Right now, the rates are very, very low, so they're not really that attractive. But in the past...
But if you're looking at CDs, John, they're really attractive.
They are. Because you certainly get a better rate with the fixed rate annuity than you do with a CD. But if that's the type of investor you are... And I used to work out of a credit union, so I'm very familiar with folks that would come in that just didn't want any market exposure at all. So sometimes when we were able to sit down with them and talk to them about the situation, maybe they had some equities over here, but they knew, hey, with this sum of money that I have, this $30,000 or this $50,000 or whatever it may be, they knew that they wanted a guaranteed rate on that. And if they were able to say, hey, I'm okay with locking that up for 4 or 5 years, we were actually able to get them some good interest rates back in the day on those. And that could be a situation that you're in.
I think people have earmarked dollars. They go to the bank, they have a CD, and they hear, I can get another % or 2 over in the fixed annuity world for 3 to 5 years. And people lock up CD money for 5 years, and they're like, well, I'm just going to do it for another 5 years. And they just want the best rate they can get.
One of the downsides to that, of course, guys, is the fact that if you lock into a higher rate guarantee, let's say we did a 5-year or a 7-year annuity, and those things exist, but sometimes the bad thing can be is that you're locking in. If interest rates are going up in that time period over those next 5 to 7 years, you can be caught in something that's a lower interest rate. However, if you have interest rates that are plummeting or going back down, then having a fixed rate guarantee up at that higher level can actually be a good place. So it really depends upon where interest rates are going.
So time-wise, you would have said like maybe a 2007, 2008 scenario when interest rates were quite high, right? Lending was on the rise until we had our lovely real estate debacle.
Yep.
And so, those kind of rates, locking in long-term rates at that point. But who knows, right? Did you know that the interest rates were going to be coming back down?
Or the market would crash. Or
economic crisis?
Yeah.
No, but at this point in time, if we were to take a snapshot today, what have we been seeing coming, through email after email in our direction? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm seeing rising rates, Feds raising rates, Feds are raising rates, and that potentially could be a signal if you're looking at an interest rate sensitive instrument like this. Maybe it isn't the right choice at this time.
Correct.
The terminology we're talking about, the conversation here is the reinvestment risk. The idea, the concept of reinvestment risk is if you buy something today and it happens to be at a really high interest rate or a really low interest rate, you have 2 different investment risks. One is if you've invested in something that's too low because rates are rising, you should have invested for a shorter period of time to get back in when rates are going up. But back in the 80s or whatever, when the CDs were paying 15, 16%, the reinvestment risk was, hey, I just bought this 5-year CD, it's coming due, and now it's only 5%, not 15%.
Yeah.
That's reinvestment risk.
And if you're used to living on the 15%, that's a bad thing, right?
And so, even talking about that just seems so astronomically crazy. But understanding reinvestment risk on both ends is really important for people to understand what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Well, I think there's a kind of a simple way. And I don't know, guys, have you guys ever been part of a utility? Like for instance, I use pellets for wood pellets for heating my home. And I know you guys might use oil or propane or whatever it may be. But I know there's always...
Is that legal?
It is. It is here.
I'm
yes.
just making sure.
Yes,
John.
yes, it is.
I want to
It
make
is.
sure you're on the
yes,
right
thank
track.
you. I am following the letter of the law here. Yes, but there are always opportunities, and there's this wood pellet co-op that you can belong to, where you can go ahead and prepay your pellets for 2 years and be able to get them for cheaper than you can the current price. And the same thing can happen when it comes to your
Wait,
oil.
that does sound like a Ponzi scheme thing that we just rolled about. Is that what you're involved in over
No,
there?
I am not.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
I didn't join it, but no, you can certainly do the same thing when it comes to different utilities. You can do the same thing with oil, or if you want to lock in your propane rate. And you really don't know how it's going to work out for you until the whole deal's done, do you? Because you just don't know what's going to happen. Now, all these guys that want to sell you pellets 2 years in advance, or oil or propane 2 years in advance, they're all telling you that what's going to happen with those prices. They're going to go sky high. You're going to be sitting there with a nice fixed cost, and while everyone else is paying 10 times more for those utilities.
No, and they're counting. I mean, they're sitting there on the other side of the table saying, I'm going to get a decent, better than I'm paying price now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I
And
mean,
it's kind of a risk that they can take sometimes too. Just depends. And so you want to be careful of this. I do know that in this area, in New Hampshire area, we did have an issue with one of our oil providers. It wasn't the one I used, but one of them that was here that was actually doing a prepay. And actually one of the issues that happened with them is the fact that they were really doing a poor job on the service end of things when it came to oil and propane that they're delivering. And they actually were going bankrupt. So they took a bunch of money in, and then they declared bankruptcy, and they had a lot of people that had prepaid, and that didn't work out very well for them. So hopefully you were not one of those people paying into that oil company.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think when it comes to guaranteed returns, that it's usually for an earmarked amount of money. It's not for a lot, and it depends on your risk tolerance and that reinvestment risk that we talked about. Those types of things are really important to consider when getting into a time-lapsed investment, whether it's a CD or an annuity, just looking for a good return.
And often I say, hey, listen, if you were a CD investor and that's all you're going to do, well, take a look at a fixed rate annuity, see how that might work for you if you're only open to CDs. So.
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned this as a part of, and I think I can't tell you how many times I've sat down with people and I've heard the scenario that it's like everything is in this idea, right? Or then and that kind of goes back to the diversification. So that would be one of those other conversations. If you're ever having somebody tell you do everything in this idea, I would run.
Yeah, and check out too how these folks are licensed too, because sometimes the people that are recommending that you go with an annuity, maybe there's only one way in which they're licensed, and that is to sell you an annuity. And like we've often said this before, hey, to a carpenter, everything looks like a nail, man. Everyone wants to pound a nail, and that may not be the appropriate.
That is a lot. I honestly believe that's a lot of what has to do with the abuse with annuities, is because you could just be an insurance agent and just sell annuities, and that's the only investment vehicle you can do it. Investments with, and all of a sudden everything is a nail. Like
I guess, yeah. And I guess if you're going, let's say, guys, you're going to a car dealership, and you know that you want to buy a Toyota. If you just go to a dealership that sells Chevys, you're not going to get what you want, obviously. So if you're going to one of those places that offers, you can buy Toyotas, you can buy Acuras, you can buy Chevys. Well, that's a whole different deal there, because you can be pointed in different directions. But if you're going to a place that only sells one type, well, guess what you're going to walk out with if you walk out with something.
So I'm going to jump into number 4 for the sake of time. We got 2 more here. So number 4, a lot of people are focused on income. This is a big one. This is the big retirement boomers. This is why I think annuities have gotten so much,
bad press?
Well, not bad press, but I was going to say just attraction. People are interested in the income features that annuities offer.
Sure.
And there's a lot of different features. I mean, we're not going to jump into all the different variables of, the riders and this, that, and the other thing. There's different things. But annuities in general can be annuitized. That's the basic one. That's where they all started, was you could just turn the income on to a pension-like income. Now, there's features that insurance companies have developed that make it a little bit more interesting sometimes, maybe more enticing, different ways of doing things that are outside the annuitization world. But if you're looking for income, annuities usually offer some sort of guaranteed feature for income.
And sometimes they can offer you an income, a very attractive income, but many times, and basically what an annuity means is it means a promise to pay. And basically how an annuity can work, and it can be designed to work, is to provide you an income that you can't outlive, meaning that as long as you live, so if you live to 105 years old, well, the insurance company has to keep on kicking money out to you.
I think there's a black and white reason why annuities have found so much attraction in today's marketplace with the baby boomers. Because the baby boomers are starting the later year baby boomers here now that are coming through are the end of the pension.
That's right. They no longer have that pension income.
Yeah, and if they do, it's much smaller, or it's been batted down, or they were part of the transition process out of pensions into 401ks.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so what they really wanted, what they loved about their job, was that they had this big fat pension that was going to retire them and so forth, is going to provide them that income. And that's where I have a whole conspiracy theory about 401ks and retirement plans. I mean, ultimately, I believe that the pensions were so much obligation for these companies who are not money managers to provide for their employees for their retirement years. Moving them to a 401k, you can make all this much more money. You're going to be rich and wealthy beyond. We're holding you back in this pension world, And so now you have this 401k, and the baby boomers are saying, I really wanted the pension. I don't want the stock market per se. I want the pension. And annuities allow people to convert their retirement dollars basically to a pension-like income, some
back
sort
again.
of guarantee.
Kind of retro, right?
Yeah, it's like completely going back. They convinced everyone you can make all this extra money in the 401k world and in the stock market. But then everyone's coming to retirement saying, boy, that pension, I wish I had a bigger pension. It would just be so much easier. Less stress on my retirement years.
In 93, 94, 95, when I was getting started in the business, I was in the Detroit area. And I remember 401ks were coming along, but they were not there. And I can tell you, the people that we were talking to at that point were looking to retire, and they basically had a couple different things. They might have had some money in cash. They might have had some money in CDs. But the majority of their retirement income, in addition to Social Security, was the pension that they had from the big three auto companies. That's basically where their retirement assets income was going to come from. That is a total different picture than we face here 20 plus years later. We see very few people with pensions. And if they have one, like you were saying, Ben, it might just be a small little one they have because they were at the tail end when they had a pension.
And now you look at these pensions, and there's still question marks about those too.
For sure.
And some of the ones that have changed in retirement on people. I mean, there's been some pretty bad things. I think when it comes to guaranteed income, the place you want your money is an insurance company. And the insurance companies are what provide the annuities. I mean, they have the investment experience, they have the abilities, and they've got the insurance behind them to help ensure that it still happens.
Well, they can be guaranteed and they can be predictable, and that's what's important.
Well said. One of the other things that we talk about there is the ability to create income, and you're talking about a guaranteed income there. But if you were to take a look at a solution that can simplify, somebody's experience, versus I don't know how to take money out of a 401k. I don't know how to, convert a fund into cash in my bank account that I can write checks against. So again, there can be that simplification of the process. And, sometimes John, you've dealt with a lot of different pension situations. It's not always a simple solution coming from a pension to an income. Like there's all these different ways that you can distribute that pension as well.
How you choose to take the options. Yeah.
Right. Having some counsel around you to advise you through that process of going from a kind of an accumulation type of a portfolio or mindset into a distribution is so critical. And this can be one of those components that can help to, as complex as they can be sometimes, it can really help to simplify that process for people.
So number 5, let's wrap this puppy up here, guys. One area that, I think we're not stretching for number 5, but this is something that, we're going to kind of throw back into the listener's court, is the alternatives that annuities can offer. Now, there's a lot of people out there who, may not be insurable from a life insurance standpoint or a long-term care standpoint.
It could be a health issue they had in the past.
Or a disability standpoint.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things out there. Annuities, they have all sorts of crazy features out there. There's annuities that do almost everything, it seems like, except for wax your car. So
I could use one of those right now.
Yeah, I know. But I think, they all have features. They're not as grand and as focused and as specific and, as capable of accomplishing any one of these scenarios as maybe an individualized insurance piece that you would have to go and health-wise qualify for. Mm-hmm. but they all do have features that can kind of address those issues or concerns in a roundabout way, which I think is interesting. Like there's some that have death benefit features or long-term care features or disability features, access to cash, disability stuff, things like that. It's not true life insurance, but it's not true long-term care insurance, but it is a feature that helps in when those events occur. And I think that's something that, if you're listening to this show and you're saying to yourself, I'm not insurable, and I do have some, concerns for my spouse or my children or, my own well-being and so forth. Could you bridge that scenario with an annuity? There's a possibility. It's something to consider.
Every situation is different. That's really what we do when you come into Brayshaw Financial Group and we meet with you. We really have the opportunity to get to know your situation and to get a better idea. We call it a financial snapshot of your situation, so we can have a very good idea of what makes sense for you. And really, before we even start talking about investments, we want to get to know you. We want to get to know what your concerns are. Even talk to you about, hey, what are some of the things that have happened in the past as far as your investments are concerned? Did you lose a lot of money? Did you make a lot of money? What kind of concerns do you have from what's gone on in your past?
I think a lot of things. It's funny, as we hear people come in from hearing the show or referred to us by somebody. One thing is they say, I've been meaning to call you. I've heard you from a couple different people, and is that it's like, don't wait. If you're sitting out there listening and you're like, hey, I really should do something, don't wait. I was talking to a woman the other day. She wanted to be with us and so forth. So I called her. I was like, yeah, she was all gangbusters to do it. She's like, yeah, I just so busy, and I get that. It's totally fine. I was just like, hey, I want to make sure we didn't drop the ball here. I thought you were coming right in, and so. She's like, no, I am. And she put a date on the calendar. She's coming in. But it just was interesting because we always think, oh, well, maybe they just lost interest. But I really think people are just busy. And my encouragement to everyone and the listeners today is just pick up the phone. If it's not us, find somebody, get help.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's lots of images that we can use of postponing the things that we need to do. Right now, I'm kind of thinking about a bathroom floor that probably needs to come up.
Wonderful being a new homeowner again, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm the same situation as you guys. I'm like, you probably need to call me if you're the contractor that's like, let's get that done, Seth. Okay. I would appreciate that as well. So, today we've talked about a lot of different reasons that, why to even consider. Okay. So looking at this from a very simple perspective, we have lots of tools available to us, as the licenses that we have, as well as the way that we orient ourselves around three-dimensional investing at Brayshaw Financial Group. This is one of many tools that we use in consideration for creating a plan that is a successful experience for you. I had somebody ask me yesterday. I was at jiu-jitsu with the kids, right? And they turn around and ask me, what's the best investment? I went,
that's funny.
That is a great question. And my answer to you is your children or you are your best investment. After we take a look at who you are, then we can figure out the rest of the pieces here. But I just want to come back to the annuity thing. And this is just a piece. It's a tool. And using it correctly is the difference maker here for people.
Thank you for listening today. And I think just to review everything that we just chatted about, if one of these 5 things sounds of interest to you, then you may need to consider an annuity in a portion of your portfolio. And I think those 5 things are: 1, are you looking for some tax deferral to reduce your taxable scenario on a regular annual basis? That's a big deal. That's usually the number 1 area. Number 2, do you want all your money in the market? Are you scared a little bit? Is there a portion of you say, hey, I don't want to hang everything out to dry and potentially get burned again, if that's a concern. Number 3, are you looking for a guaranteed return? That might be an option that an annuity would provide for you over a CD rate or something, or even a money market, money just sitting around that you're not doing anything with. And then number 4, do you have an income need for retirement, specifically focused on solving a pension-like solution for yourself? And then number 5, are you uninsurable? Is there a concern, a health issue? Because annuities have some alternative features that come along with them that can cover or help towards death benefits, long-term care, disability stuff. That just would be extra add-ons. They wouldn't be full, complete solutions, but they could be things to help in those areas of concern. And those things are areas that you say, hey, one of those 5 things. Give us a call. Be happy to chat with you and see if more depth to that would help.
You've been listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. It has been a ton of fun talking about annuities. I think that's a funny thing to say. It's fun to talk about annuities. But it's really fun to talk with you guys about annuities.
Absolutely.
That's the truth. All right, you guys. Hey, have a great week. We can't wait to see you at Brayshaw Financial Group. Have a great one.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.